I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 372 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today, this is your reminder to choose presence over perfection, a mid-December mindset reset of sorts. So here we are in the middle of December, in the thick of all of the hustle and bustle. And I don't know if your December is unfolding anything like mine, but this is about the point where I'm usually like ready to lose it. Everything has gone into overdrive. I feel like I'm running out of time. I remember back when my kids were younger, there was just so much happening at school in these last precious, week or two before the holiday. Now that I have kids who are teenagers, whether it's high school and they're kind of squeezing in one last test or two last tests everywhere before the end of the quarter, which really becomes semester grades, or I have one in college who is hitting the end of a semester and getting ready to come home for break. It feels like the holiday isn't even the real deadline, right? It's moved up somehow in advance of the holiday that everything needs to be ready. And then if you throw in all of those early traditions, like in our house, we do St. Nicholas Day, which is on December 6th, which is kind of a stocking-based tradition. If you're not familiar with it, St. Nicholas comes early and leaves stockings. So that's fun. That's a nice little added thing early in the month. If you're doing the elf situation, you have a lot of elven activity already underway in your house, I'm sure. There's, parties are happening. There's so many things. And so I think this is the point in the month where we need a little bit of a mindset reset. And it's hard, right? It's hard because of some of the reasons I was just talking about. And it's also really important. So let's just give ourselves a little compassion here on why it might be so difficult to stay present, why we might feel like we're kind of hovering above the holiday experience or, sort of skimming across the surface of it instead of really dropping in. I'll give you 3 reminders at least that you can think about. One is our addiction to multitasking. The mental overload is real, right? There are so many things I've just described that we're trying to keep track of. And I think as women, still stereotypically, we are often carrying that extra mental load here in the holidays, just like we are in the rest of the year. So coordinating the schedules and buying the gifts and decorating and preparing meals, like all of those things, there's just a lot. And in an effort to be efficient, I think we're often multitasking, right? So while the tree is being decorated, you're kind of planning tomorrow's grocery list in your head instead of being in the moment, right? Or you're mentally drafting an email instead of really watching that Christmas movie. So I think it's so common for us to try to multitask because the mental overload is so significant. And that's a drag on presence, right? It's real hard to be fully present doing one thing when you're doing, by definition, more than one thing. The second thing that I think is probably going to be relatable is perfectionism runs rampant when it comes to the holidays, right? Our desire to create that perfect holiday often pulls us into focusing on what's next or what just happened instead of what's now. So we're fixating on the decor or, like let's say you're making cookies and you're thinking about, is everyone going to like these? Are they good enough? Are they turning out well? Right? Are they underbaked, overbaked? Did the recipe turn out the way you thought? Instead of just enjoying the fun of baking them, we can get real focused on outcomes and the holidays just become another place. Anybody have a meltdown during family photos this year to try to get a holiday card? That has never happened in our household. I have no idea what that might be like. Wink, right? This year, it's so different when the kids are a little bit older. And it is harder in some ways to get a photo that everyone will sign off on. At this point, I feel like we are getting sign-off rights from everyone to share a photo. But at least they're not bursting into tears or napping or needing a diaper change in the middle of a photo shoot, right? Or running away, all things that have happened in years gone by. So that perfectionism, I think, can really pull us out of the moment we're in because we're trying to craft the moment we really wanted to have, right? We're steering towards some imaginary ideal. And I think another one is the emotional expectations of this season. You might sit through gift opening fretting about or worrying about or being real tuned into how people are reacting to their gifts instead of just letting it happen, right? You might spend a holiday meal with like your in-laws or extended family worried about being judging your cooking or the way your kids are dressed instead of being able to focus on the time together. So these are very real things. Perfectionism and emotional expectations and the multitasking that's driven by mental overload. I think I don't want you to beat yourself up about any of that. It's all very real. And yet the cost of it is it takes us away from being able to really drop in and be present. And that is so often what the women in my community tell me that they want, right? When you ask, what do you really want most? Presence is a word that comes up a lot. And it is important, right? There are very good reasons to be present. I don't think we're misguided in wanting that. It's just hard to get. But being present really does a few things for us. It strengthens our connections with other people. When they know they have our full attention, even if it's for a short time, we notice things about them and they notice things about us. When you're watching your child do some sort of holiday activity and you really can see the sparkle in their eyes, that is a different thing than you're kind of buzzing through the room while they're sort of in parallel having an experience. And it makes me think about the adage of people may forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I think presence really is where we drop into a focus on the feelings that we're creating. Being present definitely is a pathway to reduce our overwhelm. And I bet overwhelm is an emotion that resonates with you. So many of the women who listen to the show experience overwhelm regularly. And being present is a pathway out of overwhelm. Why? Because we're doing one thing at a time, right? The present moment is rarely overwhelming. It's usually that we're overwhelmed by our brain running off to the future, right? And contemplating all the things we haven't done yet that are unfinished that still need to happen, or where we're ruminating on the past and it feels like it's sort of catching up with us. Being able to stay in the moment prevents us from spinning, right? And so you get this sense of calm when you're doing one thing at a time and you're really immersed in that experience. And then, of course, I think being present is so desirable because it's how we create those memorable moments. This is arguably the most important reason of all. When we're present and we know this is true, ordinary activities, very seemingly ordinary things, get sort of transformed into these cherished memories. Like they get stored better because we've really been there while they were happening. It could be something so simple, like just watching snow fall, right? Or sharing a story that everybody's really there to listen to and laughing about, over a meal. Those very simple, again, doesn't have to be anything fancy, but those experiences, those moments sort of lock into our memory in a different way. And so not only do we feel more present in the moment, but we also kind of have that as a core memory to look back on. I want to talk to all my fellow business owners and introduce you to my friends at Mackie. They are experts in providing CFO services that give you the clarity and confidence that you need, not only to succeed, but to make those strategic decisions that transform your business. Listen, running a business can be stressful, and trust me, I get it. You always want more time away from work to do the things you love, but you also want more profit. And that's where Mackie comes in with their full service financial, accounting, and executive guidance. With their Prosper for Business system, you'll have a trusted partner by your side, combining strategic planning, data analysis, and goal setting to help you grow further, better, and faster. And their results speak for themselves. Mackey's clients experience an average first-year profit increase of over 100%. And business owners report a 20% increase in time freedom. So start your journey to prosper today. Visit mackeyadvisors.com/brilliant balance and book your consultation. Okay, balance builders, any chance you're feeling a little overwhelmed by your overloaded schedule? I know, I've been there. In fact, it's why I created 14 Days to Calendar Control. This is my step-by-step program where I share my personal system and set of tools to help you transform your chaotic weeks into easy breezy ones. Okay, maybe not easy breezy, but at least edited and organized. Listen, there's training, templates, and tools in there to help you get things under control quickly. Say goodbye to constant conflicts and chronic rushing, and say hello to calendar control. Curious? Head to brilliant-balance.com/calendar for instant access. That's brilliant-balance.com/calendar. Now back to the show. So we know we want it, right? We know it's important. I'm underlining it and putting it in bold here. Like I sanction this idea that we want to be more present. And we know it's objectively difficult. Some of the things that I mentioned at the beginning, just they're real and they make it hard to do. So I want to give you at least a few ideas of what are some tangible ways that you might be able to be a little more present during the rest of this season and beyond. Maybe there's some things here that we can take with us even past the season. We're kind of in the torture test of these ideas. And maybe it will get easier as we head into the new year. So I have 3 for you today. The first one, really tangible way to be more present is to use some kind of a grounding practice. So if you've listened to the show for a while, you may have heard me talk about threshold rituals. This is the idea of as you're transitioning from one sort of stage of your day to the next, maybe it's you're coming home from work if you work in an office or outside of the house. And as you're literally coming across the threshold of your home, you have a short ritual that allows you to sort of move from work mode to home mode. It could go the other way. It could be a threshold ritual that is as you are moving from, you're kind of in the morning launch with everybody at home. Things can get a little crazy. You're doing school drop off or whatever. And then it's time to really land in an important meeting that's first thing. You want to have a bit of a ritual that helps you get your head in the game. So I call them threshold rituals. They're really grounding practices. What are the things that bring you to that moment and allow you to kind of set an intention to ask yourself, how do you want to show up in this particular moment? And it can be something as simple as 3 conscious deep breaths. That's often enough to just slow everything down and asking yourself that question, how do I want to show up? So maybe it's before a family dinner, breathing deeply and thinking, I want to be a part of this conversation. Even the teasing, I don't want to be focused on who is or isn't eating their green beans or who will or won't agree to help with the dishes. I just want to be in the storytelling and the laughter and the shared experience of this. I don't want to be clearing the table before people are even finished. I want to just sit there and have the moment with my family. And taking a few breaths on that and kind of landing in that intention before you engage can be very powerful. So it can happen before anything. It can happen before you're opening gifts, before you're welcoming people into your home, before you're stepping into a party, before you go shopping, right? Whatever. But that grounding ritual to really ask yourself how you want to show up in that moment can be transformative. Another one I thought about when I was making notes for this episode is that I think we need to set some boundaries with technology if we want to be fully present. Man, those phones are just in the way, right? Mine certainly is. It just gets in the way of our ability to really be with the other people. So when there are those key moments that you want to fully experience, maybe it's baking or the gift exchange or a special holiday meal, this might be a good time to store the phone at, plural phones, everyone's phones in another room. So that instead of scrolling through, notifications, emails and texts that are coming in or social media while we're doing it, we can really focus on the smells and the sounds and the conversations that are happening around us. So I think everyone's boundaries with technology will look different based on really how you use your devices. I mean, if you're, for example, using them to reference a recipe, then yes, I understand you're going to want to have the device in the room, but really challenge yourself on maybe putting things on do not disturb, maybe having some pieces of each day where the phones are away so that you can really be with your people. And then I think the final one is just a really conscious decision to choose presence over perfection. And, you go back to that initial comment I made that perfectionism can really run rampant at this time of the year. Consciously deciding that the holiday will be perfectly imperfect, on purpose, that you actually can make it that way. And instead of stressing out about the Pinterest worthy table setting or the exact right outfit, or having the best wrapped presents, you can really focus on the joy of being in the experiences with your family, mismatched plates and all, and one of my pro tips for this is not taking photos, at least not taking photos that you intend to share, can really reduce so much stress. Listen, if you have teenagers, they are stressed out about this as well. We've all been guilty of rearranging things that are in the frame of the shot so that it's kind of just so. But one idea that I started a few years ago, especially around meal times, everybody always wants that picture at the table. And I started calling it the "we were there" photo, right? Like it's not going to be the best picture of anyone. The angles aren't right. You're at all these different perspectives. There's too many people crammed into the frame. But the point is, like, we were there and it just marks the moment in time. So if you're going to take them at all, maybe letting them be perfectly imperfect. My daughter was telling me that the reason teens are so in love with digital cameras, like old school digital cameras right now, is that they think the phones are too perfect, that the images that the phones are able to take are so perfected that they are losing something, right? And there's something about a photo being imperfect that almost makes it better. And I think we could apply that to the whole holiday. So if we are going to choose presence over perfection, we're going to decide on purpose that things will be perfectly imperfect because we want them to be. The whole idea of being present has become so elusive in our culture. And I think maybe it's not any worse at the holidays. It's just that our sensitivity to it is heightened because our desire to be with our people and to really remember this time is so strong. So that is my reminder to all of us, myself included, as we arrive at mid-month here, is embracing that idea of presence over perfection might be just the shift that we need to get us through the rest of the month. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that today. I do want you to tune in next week or at some point during the upcoming week. I am going to drop some details on how to host a self-guided year-end retreat in the next episode. So if that is something that is a kind of interesting idea to you, if you are always feeling drawn to like do a little bit of reflection at the end of the year, but you aren't really sure how, I'm going to walk you through a process that I've used for years. And I am also going to give you a download that you can use that is like a journal prompts to get you through a self-guided year-end retreat. So don't miss that one. For now, go do something that you're going to choose on purpose to be fully present in the moment and allow it to be perfectly imperfect. All right, that's all for today, my friends. Till next time, go be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.